tell people the weather is
Hello, Alex. Hello, Casey. Hello, gents. Give me a sec. As you know, I'm getting situated, but there we go. For the time being, why not? I don't have to say, for those of you who've been on the live yesterday, we're expending. I'm give you a penalty for this. you, those of you who've been on the stream, on the live yesterday, were not caught off guard today. We're ready. Hello, everyone. Hello, everybody. We're not caught off guard today with the price action. None of it surprised you. You know exactly, I mean, at least those of you who have followed knew that this is coming, that we were expecting a significant loss of momentum and a pullback to the downside. Now, does that mean, are we ready to move down significantly? That's kind of the question at hand right now. That's what we are going to be looking at today. So let's not get let's not waste any time. Let's get into this. So I mean, pretty quickly, 1 minute. In 1 minute, we can see the gap we opened up today. Finished the chore relatively quickly. So all in all, no problem there. All done and done. And continue to the downside as expected. All right. Greg the fortune teller. Thank you, Brad. No, I'm just showing you what we see, and you guys are smart enough to use your own brains. Of course, nothing is a straight line to any direction, as we see a retest of a bottom trend, retest of that previous smaller trend, and now we're breaking back down. Does that mean we are, that's it, we still have plenty of time before the end of the session? So I would say, I would argue we can easily make it back to the median of the center here, or the top of this. So both kind of combine into that smallish area, right? So more likely than not, we will see this. Looking at momentum on the 1 minute, switching to the 5 minutes, far more probable, because what we're seeing here that we've already done sort of the smaller cycle within things, and it is far more probable that within the time frame that we have enough time for today's session still to go back up. And if we're looking at the 5 minute channel, so what we're gonna realize about it, just to be, I'm gonna try and clean everything quickly here. All right, so what we see, of course, is we tested, we were testing certain gap resistances, if you will. Now we're tracing back to the channel. You can see how the price action moving from basically to the upside switched over to the smaller channel. Now this is what we're trying to maintain, or it seems that the price action is maintaining. Extrapolating from this, we can easily perceive how we will make all the way back up to the median. At least that's probably the same conjunction area with what we saw in the 1 minute, so it's not that different. Okay, so let's continue to the 30 minutes. 30 minutes, as we know, this is where stuff starts to get really interesting. We see again, we are sliding out of the channel. We're switching over potentially. Again, that's why I'm saying we don't know yet. Let's not jump to conclusions. We say we're not biased here, right? So let's maintain the attitude. Let's not be biased. We don't know really if it is already a change of a trend. But if we're going to look at the 30 minutes, potentially, again, we were getting close to what would be good enough to say we squeezed enough juice out of the cycle. The cycle, of course, starts to become a little bit slightly more deviated. As you see, it becomes not just a straightforward process of going up and down. It's a little bit more indicative of an internal process that is not necessarily visible unless you're aware of these processes. But really what it does, it's moving over to another channel. Just keep buying it. Lose your money. Arnon, I'm a swear. I'll punish you too. Don't listen to Arnon. Arnon is hating on Tesla. Tesla is great. Or do I have Tesla? I don't have Tesla here. I'm gonna open Tesla later. Tesla is great. Arnon is just being a hateful ass. I mean, Tesla is great. I'm deviating again, Arnon. You see what you do? See what you're doing? Tesla, Greg, would you do anything on Qualcomm? You know what? I gotta take a look at the chart. I don't want to say, and I wouldn't want to deviate right now. Maybe later I'll take a look at Qualcomm. But all in all, what does it have so special about it that will allow it to float above the rest in a bad condition? Nothing that I can think of. Tesla is making its way back to 200. Arnon, come on. You know that better than the rest. You pretty much hang out with me on a daily basis. Stop it. Stop it. Read the first comments. Stop kidding. Okay. But yeah, we're going back to 200. Most of you know that I think we're gonna end up testing 150 again later down the line, if things will pan out as I perceive them, even with all the bullish momentum into Tesla, because again, it will be mitigating the bullish momentum into Tesla, will be mitigating the bearish momentum. Hence, you're gonna not see a drop as bad as potentially some people perceive. People say, well, if it's really going to get bad and recessionary, we might see Tesla go below 100. I would argue that's too far to speculate right now. I can easily see how we will make our way towards the 100. Will we break below? That is really difficult to say. So try to sort of, keep up with me as we go, and I'll be able to tell you later. I need to check VT NVIDIA. Didn't I just do NVIDIA yesterday? Guys, come on, keep up. All right, so let's go back to the S&P before I completely deviate and people start screaming at me, okay? Sorry. 215 Tesla. You do puts. I'm not touching that stuff, so you do you. So, pardon me. So, again, 1 hour, potentially quite bearish, I would say. Quite bullish, actually. The opposite, as you would expect, because we've already done our process in the oversold territories. We do these processes, they can take a little while, but more so what is more indicative for me that we're close to the end of the process is the fact of the matter that we're at the exact range, what would be the channel for the 1 hourly. Okay, so it actually makes sense. We basically made our way from the median to the bottom of this channel. On hourly scheme, it makes sense that we will be testing that area at least for a little bit, not necessarily breaking down. We have something here at 5,566, some form of support. So I don't really perceive how we're going to break down all that straightforward. It's probably going to be some retest process here. It also seems like the price action got entangled in that area before. In fact, let's just sort of mark it up, so we can see how it looked on a little bit more of a granular form, a little bit more indicative of this line being actually being there, the market respecting it. Rather, it doesn't matter whether we perceive it's there or not. The market respecting that support or resistance is what's important. So again, this movement overall, we did perceive it, right? We said we will see ourselves, the price action potentially moving into the gap, but not making all the way through. So all in all, if we're looking at kind of this the transition between the 45 minutes to the hourly, it's not that surprising. I told you the 45 minutes is very much an amplified version of that hourly, so not all that surprising. Let's continue. We know 4 hourly is far more predominant, but what do we start to see? Remember, just in yesterday's sessions, we were talking about this area, and I told you how we might see some convergence and divergence back and forth, but all in all, it will result in a downtrend. So we're seeing exactly what I told you we will see today. I hate to be a bit of an ass, but I told you so. You can go to the video, yesterday's video, and watch it. You will see that's exactly what I was saying. More so, as we know, this process within itself does not have to be extremely painful. That means the bullish momentum and the bearish momentum all together can combine to a situation we end up just testing these areas, something we actually spoke about, so not all that surprising, right? In fact, if you want to objectively look at this, my channel is a bit off. As you can see, my ceiling is slightly off right there. But we can see something very interesting. If, let's say, we just make a parallel line to our ceiling here, to our trend, right? I'm going to try and make it as parallel as I can. And I drop it down slightly lower, you'll be able to see that it's very much probable that what we're testing here is a parallel resistance to that main resistance, and we're basically breaking back down before even arriving to it, because we have various supports and resistances that are forcing us to not even be able to go that far. Arnon really likes Tesla. Hey, Tim, my brother from another mother. Guys, Tim and Arnon are true legends when it comes to options trading. I will not, I'm really far from it, but I would just say, look, you know, as I always say, you're the managers of your own portfolios, right? Don't trust anyone, but a good advice you can always listen to and choose not to take it. It's a good thing. Two of these people are brilliant. I'm not even kidding. They've been around me. I've been around them for the last 4-ish plus years. Both of them are brilliant when it comes to options. Don't listen to whatever they're gonna say there now in the chat. Brilliant, amazing people. Both of them are moderators and admins in our Discord. So brilliant people. You just don't get that for no reason. After telling my wife how much listening to you, to tell you I think. My pleasure, Adam. I hope many more appliances and many more things, a new car and whatnot. But remember, look, Adam, don't listen to me blindly. I could be an utter idiot, could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Timing is a crucial factor here. A lot of people here play with what matters when it comes to timing the market as well, which I don't like to do. But like I said, listen to the advice, take it with your own, grain of salt, measure it with however you think is right, and do whatever you think is right for your own portfolio. Nobody will manage your money better than you will. That's just my own advice as somebody who worked in the industry for a very long time. So let's continue. I think we kind of covered the 4 hourly, which is going to get interesting because we know the 4 hourly is very much a transitionary sort of period to the daily. They are kind of highly correlated usually when we're going to look at assets. I showed you before, if we're going to look, for example, on Tesla here, you can see these yellow and blue columns. Let's look at the 4 hourly. We will still see them. Those represent the pre and post market, the post and pre-market rather, and the regular trading hours. What the daily does, it condenses it all, and it really does not have pre and post. Okay, so that's kind of the trick here. By the way, Tesla, somebody asked about Tesla earlier. This structure is very worrying. You are basically seeing the D taking over, this red line, that's the bearish momentum, and it's already becoming dominant, hence it's becoming dominant, This is a problem. This is not because it's the daily time frame. Imagine you predict several candlesticks out continuing this process. You already predicted here pretty much the end of the weekend and the beginning of next week not looking great for you, potentially tracing back to these 198, 94. If I remember, we have some supports and resistances here. We subsequently probably have some leftovers of gaps here. So there are some chores to complete here, if you will. Not going to be surprised if we're going to see that coming through. And so you're not looking at happy time here. So now that we've covered pre and post market, in essence, we don't really have that in the S&P, but the transition is very much valid. So what we're seeing here is, again, something similar I've mentioned here in the hourly and 45 minutes, very much a similar phenomena. The 4 hourly is more, the 4 hours is the more of a granular form to the daily, right? So it's not that far off. Now, if we're going to look at what this is showing us, that we are potentially going down already, right? We're already starting that process. We know it's not straightforward. It might actually converge, diverge a couple more times here, spend some more time. But all in all, we know that smaller time frames are already starting to have a spillover effect. I need to go what? I need to go to talk to grandma. Go do that. Useless, you are more than welcome to come back always. Plus, watch the recording later. Sorry for deviating. So, in essence, what we might still see is a little bit of sort of times kicking the can down the road, as we like to say, something akin to this process, right? But as we start to see this convergence, in fact, let me give a better example. We might still see something like this, right? We want like this example. So it goes back and forth like we showed on the smaller time frames. We might see this sort of structure, right? I'm more of a believer that this time around we are the dominant here is bearish, so hence we're not going to have another convergence and divergence, and hence we're actually going to spill over from here on out downwards. It's going to be unpleasant, and since we said again daily chart, we can predict potentially just a couple of days out. It is unpleasant. I can see through this how we're definitely making our way into that gap right here. If we want to understand what levels we're talking about, let's zoom in on it just to figure out the levels. We are talking here about 5,500 levels, give or take, all the way to 5,400. In fact, I presume when we're looking at this gap, what we really are looking at is the marking I've left here, which is this, gives us a far more accurate perception of the gap, which means I would say, yes, still 5,500, 5,506. I see we have here a bit of a channel, so 5501. So we're going to spend some time in it, probably a day, maybe, or a couple of hours even. Closing the gap potentially. This is incorrect, although probably what we've closed before. So that's 54.55, as you can see right here on the right side. And 54.46. So all in all, instead of sort of hyper focusing on these little areas, right, the in-betweens, I would simply look at the bottom and the top. That's kind of what matters, right? And that's why often there is a discrepancy between how I speak about certain processes, and people misunderstand me because people get hyper focused on the internal structures, and I am far more hyper focused on the overarching structures. Okay, just to put it into sort of perspective and into some framework. So let's remove a little bit of that junk. Just let's clean that up. So all in all, as you can tell, the daily is not that positive. I kind of warned you guys. Warned you. I guess well, it is the right way. I'm trying to do these things as void of biases as much as I can, and just present to you the fact of what I see. And I was telling you all along, even far longer than what I myself thought, that we will go bullish, right? This definitely outperformed, completely blew me out of the water. I was, pardon me, certain we will actually get entangled within these resistances, probably maybe slip a little bit further and start correcting downwards. But this is phenomenal under the conditions. This is pretty phenomenal. We almost retraced all the way back to the all-time high. And also, those who've been on the previous session, I've marked how we are potentially having here an inverted head and shoulders, which those who are familiar with the harmonics, that makes total sense, which could result, I know most of you are saying, well, Greg, that's a bullish pattern. Potentially, yes. There is a debate that says that we could be seeing another upside movement, all in all, at the end of the process. And remember, it can vary. It can actually be this deep, pretty much as long as, in fact, I would argue, those who know better know that this shoulder can actually exceed the head and be even lower. So it's still going to be a valid head and shoulders, even though it's going to be super low. The question is how far we will retrace, and then if we actually make our way that low, ask yourselves, can we actually retrace from 5,000 all the way to what would be Tom Lee's high 5,800, which also very coincidentally matches with this resistance. There are various processes that could take place here, but right now what we can tell far more evident than not is the process downwards. More so, remember, once we hit the oversold territory, we stay there and usually and get amplified. I would argue that the downtrend will be more severe because the overturning is just very, very slow, but it is already in full swing, if you will. We're starting to get lower lows here. You can see those are lower lows, right? And in fact, you could argue so lower highs, although very much borderline. Like I said, I didn't expect it to see that much on the border of things, but yeah, we do have a major resistance here, so not that surprising. But all in all, the way the momentum was structured earlier, about a week and a half ago, I didn't think that would be the case. Bottom line is that I know and I understand that you are guys that are hyper focused on the sort of this trend, because lots of you are having bullish positions and you want this to be the case. But let's not do that. Remember why we're here and what we're doing here. We're trying to find what the technical analysis will tell us without applying any biases. This idea is basically called first principle thinking. In other words, we go with what we see, void of any biases. Haha, welcome Tom, my brother from another mother. Guys, you all should be grateful to that person, Tom Nash, right? Without him, this channel, this video right now, this live wouldn't have existed. All of this is thanks to the magnificent Tom. Thank you, brother from another mother. Much love. So I think we've covered the daily. Give me just a second. I'm going to clean it up so it will be easier for us to proceed. Let's go to the weekly. Weekly, those of you who are bullish probably will love this chart, because all in all, it will give you a better perception that, well, Greg, I mean, again, you're saying we're bearish, while in reality, if we're looking at the weekly, we've kind of finalized the. It matches with what, by the way, conveniently, if Tom is here, I mean, it matches with the thesis of August as a problematic month. In fact, under all conditions, it outperformed because we broke down and corrected back up. So all in all, it plays well with that thesis. But I would emphasize the fact of the matter that we literally have 1 day and 3 hours, basically this session and tomorrow, before this month is done, and this candlestick will look as such. Again, some of you will notice that it is a very significant candlestick. It's an inverted hammer, basically. It is more indicative, actually, of a bullish trend, and this conveniently so represents something akin to this same movement. And I would argue that the very next candlestick can actually bring us back up to test that descending trend, which will still result in descending highs, right? In lower highs. But to us, to sort of the average person, it will feel like an uptrend, because it will be an uptrend, even if temporarily so. That is what we can extrapolate, at least from the short term, right? Because we have this convergence of bullish momentum. But I would argue that something else is going on. I would argue that this is basically the small skip, if you will. I kind of brought this example before, and here is another example that I usually use to show you. And if you guys are the more sort of sharp-eyed and hawk-eyed, notice that once we do move into a certain territory, what we do is we test it to death, meaning we use the amplification process before we switch back over. It's not straightforward. I would argue that this is not the end of all this process. It is just a temporary thing, and we are starting to see the signs of that bearishness on the smaller time frames. Imagine that what you saw on smaller time frames will come through this, but internally, almost if you could zoom in, just blow this sort of blow it up and look internally into the minutia of these processes, you would be able to recognize that internally it is already doing this switch over, right? It's just that it is invisible to you, okay? Which is still bearish, all in all. But I mean, at face value, what we would have to say here, that potentially it looks bullish, even if temporarily so. We're not about biases here. We're about what we see. Potentially a little bit more upside, not a lot. Monthly is the one important thing, and I'm kind of starting to you guys might getting bored with seeing this time frame again and again and again. But what you need to realize, this is sort of the overarching bigger picture that is going on, and I would argue that we are already starting to see that transition, actually starting to see the shrinkage of the momentum, how we switch over from candlesticks that are a significant change in price to smaller change to even smaller change, and this candlestick was basically eaten away by the bears all the way through. right? And we can actually see the resistance being respected. Will it fail? Hard to say. On that time frame, we literally need to have this month finish. Wait, we have 8 days. What am I saying? What 1 day? I made a mistake. I was talking 1 day. I jumped forward. Right, we have still 8 days. We have for the weekly to finish 1 day. Right, dumbass. But in general, right, we're very much close. I don't think we're gonna have that much change in the on the monthly, right? Overall, I do think we're going to very shortly start to see the spillover from the smaller time frames, that bearish momentum that we saw start to spill over in actual visual form. Because remember, it takes time before these candlesticks get locked in other words, established. So daily, right? This is who's in the chat. All right. Tom is everywhere. Tom is everywhere. Tom is the CEO of the planet. All right, so we've kind of looked at the monthly, and I know you guys probably get bored with this, with the monthly, but you need to remember that this is very important for us, and we're going to need to sort of follow it very, very closely, as it's going to switch over in about 8 days, which, by the way, brings me back to my next point. I will be less available in the following week. I'll be going on vacation towards my birthday. I'll be a little bit off in the beginning of September. I will be making videos, but just maybe less of them. Also, another important thing, I have one final spot in the academy, one final spot for both the members and the public. So hurry up, because whoever takes it, right? And then I'm just kind of locked in for the next several weeks. That is for sure, if not longer than that. Shout out to our amazing community. Give me a sec. I wanna brag a little bit. Our gigantic community that is actively growing all the time. Of course, it's more due to Tom and not me. That's the reality of the thing. But we're 17,400 plus people at this very second, public and members all together. Shout out to Arthur, great friend. Shout out to Tom, shout out to Tim, shout out to Elron, shout out to all of our VIPs and other legends in the Discord, because we have many of them. All the amazing topics that you can imagine, the academies, just a great place, great resource, all in all, highly recommended. If you're not familiar, the links are in the description below. Make sure you confirm the rules. It's very important right here, otherwise you'll be stuck in limbo. This button, right, like these people that have been stuck in limbo for a little while. So make sure you confirm that. You'll have access to the public, and if you want to upgrade and sort of become part of our closer, smaller family and learn even further more stuff about the market, technicals, fundamentals, doesn't matter, whatever you want, we have that. Just follow the links below. Now let's get back to the charts. That's all fun, nice and dandy. Sorry for deviating. Yeah. 17,000. That's crazy to think that during the unpleasant times, 2020, we were at the peak about 5,000, then dropped a little bit because things have changed, and a lot of things were very dynamic, a lot of haters and whatnot. People didn't like our opinions, I guess. But now we're at 17,000, so it's insane. It's of course more so Tom's followers, but it doesn't matter. I think the community is growing in every direction: technical, fundamental, evaluation, macroeconomics, all of it all together. It's an amazing resource. I personally enjoy it far more than working at any trading floor that I've worked at. I'm absolutely serious about this. Let's continue. I think we kind of covered the monthlies, and there's not much to cover. The idea that we really want to remember, and this is going to take a little while longer, we're going to have to see September over with, right? I mean, August and September for us to actually be able to see whether I was correct about this transition. But as I said, as we're starting to see the smaller time frames spill over, next month we're probably going to see a spillover, unless we're going to have a lot of bullish momentum, and that we will recognize that as we go. Then Greg will have similar habits on his vacation. What are we talking about? What vacation? I'm not even going anywhere, guys. I'm gonna stay here in Israel and just rest a little bit longer than usual. That's all. In fact, I'm such an addict to the community, to the market and everything, that all of it might be, just me blowing smoke up your ass, and I will probably be hanging out as usual. No change. We'll see. Definitely gonna go to the beach a lot more. That's something I really like to do. So a little bit more. Hanging out at the beach for me, or maybe at the pool. That is something I do like to do. Similar habits though. So yeah, in essence, yeah, I agree with that. John, thank you. All right. So, those of you know, I think this is a longer overarching trend, something that we're going to see sort of spill over very soon, and down to a correction to the downside, something that we've mentioned we saw on the weekly and other time frames, and basically everything else, as it's going to start happening subsequently, because this is a slower moving time frame in essence, and the prediction and the chart, the way the structure ends up, it takes a longer process. So for example, we saw a bullish inverted hammer on the smaller time frames, but here we're seeing basically a hammer that is very bearish on an overarching time frame. So you do you. I mean, you need to understand that the larger time frame, the bigger story matters more. That's just the reality of things. And yeah, I mean, the monthly is not looking good. We said 3 months looks the same. It's the same implication as we done here with the daily. As we gradually go over, we're starting to see more and more that spillover effect potentially. Now, what we're seeing here again is that same phenomena, but on a smaller scale, right? We understand that these cycles are a bit longer. They don't, like I've emphasized on the previous slide, they don't just happen and fade off. It doesn't just happen. To you, it might seem, I mean, just for us to understand what price action are we looking at, and you can look at the years, you'll have an idea. We're looking at the tech crisis here, right? At the dot-com bubble right here, if you, however you want to call it. I'm not a fan of the whole idea of the bubble because we're all here saturated with tech. I would say just deflationary period, subsequent to a very healthy period, just a healthy correction, just a healthy retest. So if you're going to look at this process, and we already know, everybody knows here that it took you 13 years, 13 years, 13 years, 13 years, 13 years, it doesn't matter. It took you 12 to 13 years to break even before you actually saw potential profit. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that some people there are various strategies you can go about it. The idea is not to be focused that the market is red. The idea is to be focused how great the prices are and how much you can load up at these lows, right, as we're going down. Some people try to catch a falling knife. Some people focus on buying it on the bottom, to each their own. Bottom line is, it seems like we're going through a very similar process, and because conditions are it's not ever going to be the same, right? It's never going to be the same. This time around is not the same. We had the very different conditions that led up to where we are. We had the various mistakes of the Fed, in my personal opinion. Again, we're not going to go into speculations, but we do know the conditions are different, but at the same time similar to a certain extent. Pardon that. So all in all, I'm arguing that we're seeing a very similar process. Damn it. But it's hard to recognize. I would argue because it's that much more different than before, and the election year, the geopolitical tensions, U.S. and its all various problems that they have right now, the overall economy of the world, the supply chains, oil prices, general unrest, if you will, consumer weakness that we are seeing in various forms, the job market, the job sector is very problematic. If we're kind of gonna make a list, things are not all that great. Are they unsolvable? No, but people who expect Trump to go into to have Trump's administration fix everything overnight with some fairy dust, not gonna happen. I still think we're gonna go and see a very serious recessionary period. It might be more tame than what history showed before, because the market has inflated since. The market is bigger, and conditions could be potentially fixed exactly by Trump's skill set that we're familiar with. And yet, we have to be objective about these things. It's not going to happen overnight. Even if they will happen, not overnight. And I'm not even mentioning how the generation the current young generation is not prepared for the hardships of climbing out of a recession entail. And I would argue that the previous generations were better at it because they were able to put their sleeves up and go to work hard and long hours and get paid what would be not necessarily great salaries. Now we understand they were great relative to inflation and all that, but now that we have our inflation, we realize how okayish it all was. So, of course, I'm not even mentioning here the banks and the argument that the banks are the backbone of the system. and how if you really are attentive and look deep, you realize the banks are not doing all that great, how the banks are still highly tied into real estate, commercial real estate this time around. Private real estate also as well is very much a big deal, but it's a bit of a different play. Somebody asked me about REITs, and I would say, I mean, don't listen to what I say about REITs. Look how REITs performed during 2007, 8, 9. I mean, it's going to give you an indication of whether it's a good idea. Very simple. And let's close this off with 12 months, ladies and gents. It's very simple, simply because we know that, again, the bigger story is the one that matters, and the bigger story is unpleasant. In reality, the market got so hyperinflated to the point where we even broke, and I've said this literally several years ago. I said, and some of the community members didn't take that seriously, that we're going to be going sideways. Remember, we have still 4 months before we close this candlestick. I would argue that this candlestick can retrace quite deep. So all in all, let's agree that if this candlestick is going to look at the end of the day kind of this big, yay big if you will, 5,000 even, right? You could argue that this whole thing would still be sideways for 4 years, unless of course we're going to retain something to this length. Sure, but arguably can happen. Let's see what will happen until then. Still 4 months ago at the end of the day. And my argument that if we're going to see a recessionary process here and a corrective movement, even if it's not going to be all the way through and just correcting to the 4,000 mark, you're already going to see that we're basically going to be stuck in an sort of overarching bigger picture for 5 years going sideways. So remember, people, those who didn't take the idea that we could be going sideways for a very long time seriously enough. I told you this potentially can be. And yes, I know, I understand how exceptional this looks and how unlikely it seems, but I've already predicted very unlikely things. But then again, don't trust me, I might be an idiot. End of the day, what I'm seeing here on the yearly chart is not that great. It signifies that we have a lot more downwards price action, let alone, as we know, getting amplified down here before we have we squeezed out all the bearish, until we purged all that bearish momentum out of the system, and we can go for an actual correction, which will in turn look very similar to 2000 and to 2000, basically the dot-com bubble and the housing bubble subsequently. So it's going to look very similar, and then a corrective movement up. The only thing is, I don't think people realize how deep this can be, and my argument is actually probably will go lower than that particular number that I've mentioned, 3491. In fact, I argue that there is a very particular channel right here, right below it, pretty much somewhere in this vicinity. So my argument is that if eventually, after all the process is said and done, our lows, call me crazy, I've done this before, it's not my first rodeo, I don't mind, bring it all the haters. I will enjoy seeing their comments potentially age like milk. Maybe I'm an idiot, and then I'll have to say, guys, I was wrong. I'll not be shy to say that, but my assessment is that we're gonna make it into these levels, be it as maybe how long it will take. I completely went sideways here. I went to 20 years forward, right? I'm not sure how long it will take, but you get the idea. The idea here is that we're going to find this area, I think, as the utter bottom, after which we're actually going to see a corrective movement upwards. I'm not using these years to signify how long it will take. I just, just for you to see, okay? It might as well be like this, okay? So you get the idea. Okay. I think we're done. I'm gonna go to the chat, because I'm sorry guys, I've been hyper focused, didn't want to lose focus, because people complain to me that I lose track of my topic, and then people complain to me that I've done that. They prefer for me to finish the topics and then go to the chat. Come to Cyprus, I'll take you around. Everybody's saying I should go to Cyprus, and it's amazing. I'm such a hyper person. I'm not sure. I'm telling you, Michaelis, I'm not sure. I might even for me, Cyprus is too calm, right? I might not even gonna be able to allow myself to have a proper vacation unless I force myself. Just like Tom, I am quite a workaholic. We really like the community. We enjoy, hanging out with you guys. We like the market, we like our work, we like what we do. So, I mean, Cyprus is just, I don't hate me on this, but it's a bit boring for me, if you understand what I mean. I need action. So Arnold had to go. I see. Smash like. Thank you, Arnold. Yeah, guys. I mean, if I can be self-promoting like that, so smash the like, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. If you want to be up to speed and be aware when I'm making live, so you'll never miss none of these things. And remember, don't listen to me blindly. I could be an utter idiot or just wrong this time around or whatever. It doesn't matter. Conditions could change. Look at the price action at the market as if it's traffic, right? Traffic changes. Traffic conditions due to whatever happens change. Destination might not, but doesn't have to. At the end of the day, you have to manage your portfolio however you seem fit. I could be completely out of bounds and wrong, and in my perception, and more so in the idea of what's suitable for you. So, you do you, but it's never a bad idea to listen to other people's advice, even if you don't think it's right for you. At the end of the day, take it in or just throw it away. Up to you, like I said. There are some spots for you. Don't worry, man. You know what, Michaelis? I might consider. I have so many invites. I don't even know where to go anymore. You're gonna hold on SQQQ. That depends on the position. I am actually still loading up. I was DCAing into it, if you will. I started early. My mistake was that I did not perceive the market going as high as it did. Subsequently, the SQQQ dropping as low as it did. But for me, it's not a big deal. All I see this as more potential gain. Time decay is a little bit annoying, which I perceive as commission. But don't forget, SQQQ has dividends. So if you have a significant enough amount, it sort of covers that, right? What else? But yeah, I'm gonna hold it until I hit my target, which I would not recommend necessarily following my target. You do you. You might want to jump earlier out. Some people might have 100%. If you buy now, you'll have 100% at 20. So you do you, right? What is that SQQQ? It's an inverted. Well, you have the Qs, which are a derivative of the Nasdaq, right? And then you have the TQQQ which is triple time leveraged on the Qs. And you have the inverted, which is the SQQQ. It's far cheaper. You can buy a lot more, and the price action yields a lot more. But you also lose more, and it's a little bit more painful if you lose. I highly recommend researching it in depth before you even touch it. I think that's an asset that is definitely not for everyone, right? You really need to understand it in depth before you go into the SQQQ. But I definitely am not going to tell you don't look into it. I'm holding 1,800 of it, so just saying, right? So, I mean, those who don't understand, the 1,800, that's 1,800 SQQQs, just to be clear. I didn't get that with the commission. It has time decay. Michaelis, it's well, it depends really where you are. Check it with your brokerage. There is very much like in with options, there is time decay. You might as well consider it commission. The time decay is not that small, but also it's not that big. So yeah. November expired. That's my hedge. I see. Again, I'm not doing calls, but Black, I told you, talk to Arnon, talk to Tim. These guys are brilliant when it comes to this sort of stuff. So, and they consider my technical analysis. They do their own. They know a lot of. They know a lot of technical analysis themselves. Very smart dudes. In general, just talk to them in the community or other people. We have brilliant people there. I'm not into options, just like I described in my. In the channel description, and even though I kind of understand some of it and even dabbled in it to some extent, but that's not my avenue, and I'm not gonna pretend I'm an expert. Go to the experts. Would make a lot more sense. Ladies and gents, we're gonna adjourn soon, so we can go ahead. Questions, all that wonderful stuff. Whatever you want to ask, talk about. Tell me I'm an idiot, I'm wrong, I don't mind. I'm just presenting what I see, Bring the haters on. They just help me grow my channel. Those who have not yet, subscribe, ring the bell, transfer it to everything so you will be up to speed, otherwise you won't be. Share this, join the community, all that great stuff. There's Patreon, I do one-on-one, I have an academy, one-on-one, where I teach how to do proper technical analysis, a lot more in-depth stuff that I show here on the videos, a lot more advanced stuff. I have one final spot, so hurry up. And yeah, that's kind of it. I think I've covered everything. Is your favorite word minutia? No, no, I don't have a favorite word. Pardon me. Made me almost die here. No, but I do understand the importance of the granularity, the quantum realm of things, if you will, right? The smaller scale, the micro, if you will. It's super important. All of it is just tremendously valuable because then you can recognize patterns that most people are blind to. And yeah, I find it fascinating. Yes, I do live in Israel. I am from Israel, Vikas. It's not a secret. In fact, one of the lives I was mentioning how I had this very fun encounter here with a couple of rockets that were launched from Gaza, and when I finally decided to go and take a bit of a day off at Tel Aviv. I don't know. I cannot answer you that question. It's up to you, Jake. But consider that how bonds work, right? And in fact, I wouldn't just consider how bonds work, right, in terms of inverse market and all that wonderful stuff. I would recommend to go and see how bonds performed during 2007, 8, that secondary wave, right? And extrapolate from that, should you, shouldn't you, how commodities performed that time. Again, I would say that bonds are not necessarily a bad idea, just to kind of say what I think about it. But you need to understand that that will take you a while, and all that it entails. I would simply look at history, right? And it will be a good indication for you how you should play with bonds, if at all. I would say look at 2007, 8, 9. That'll be the right spot to look at. Stay safe, man. Thank you, Vikas. I appreciate it. It's not great here, but it's also, I mean, maybe because we're used to this, I guess, and which is not great within itself. But it's not great. It's not great. There are a lot of bad attempts, pretty much on the daily basis, and it's not great. Again, if you want to know more about this sort of stuff, there are plenty of channels who expose what's really going on here in Israel, and there is no apartheid, none of that bullshit. We have plenty of Muslim Arabs in the IDF. Plenty of them are awesome people. Plenty of them, of course, not all the Muslim Arabs have the agenda that we have for the same reasons, but there are a lot of them are regular people. We don't don't all hate each other. It couldn't be farther from the truth. We have various different types of Arabs, in fact, Christian Arabs and all that. So it's very complicated, but I recommend really looking into this and understanding. And no one really hates. Israel is a very simple place. Don't be an ass. I'm not going to use worse words, but the idea is don't be an ass. It doesn't matter who's your imaginary friend. It doesn't matter, who you pray to, what you believe in, as long as you have no bad intention to anybody around you. We love you. That's how it works. Very simple. You accept everyone. Of course, Black Mamba. I mean, bro, dude, if you ever come around, hit me up on Discord. I'll take you around. I'll show you the best restaurants, the coolest stuff that I perceive to be coolest. Although I think Israel is rather boring, if you ask me, I'm going to be honest. But if you ever come by, of course, hit me up. I'll be more than happy to show you around. Or at least take, if I'll be available. No one knows what will be and when will it be, but hopefully I'll do my best and actually at least show you and direct you in the direction of good stuff to do here. All right, well, ladies and gents, it seems like we're kind of ran out of questions about the market. I mean, I kind of ran through it. It's pretty simple and self-explanatory. We are seeing exactly what I said. I hate to be this, I told you so guy. I told you so, though. I mean, as I was telling you, we're going to go up. I had no biases and I didn't mind. In fact, it allowed me to buy more S-Triple-Qs, which I enjoyed. But at this point, I have to tell you guys that it seems like the switchover is here, as I was telling you on the couple of lists. There's a reason why I switched over and said final warning kind of thing. The final warning, I'm sorry to say, those who extended, it's for you. It takes a little while, right? These processes are not just, up into the moon and then back down. It's more transitory. People are blind to it because of their biases. But I mean, I'm here to show you what I see, and you do you. So yeah, I mean, nothing really new. I'm not gonna add anything, I guess, to that I haven't said before. We're seeing this transitory period, this transition into that downwards correction that I believe will result in a lower low on the previous trend. Is this the end of all things, and are we going to drop tomorrow to 3,000 and all that? No. It's a very gradual process. Will take forever, and I mean, what would feel to most of us like forever because we experience the market on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, and remember, take everything with a grain of salt. I could be an idiot or just wrong. That's it, ladies and gents. Love you all for coming. Love you all for participating, asking questions, join the community. Talk to us here, there. We're there pretty much throughout all the week. But you'll find there's somebody 24/7. I'm not even kidding. It's an insane place, and it's an amazing resource of knowledge and just amazing people of various, facets of life and whatnot. It's just an amazing place, literally, highly recommended. And I swear I'm not being biased. It is actually that amazing. All right, that's it. Naps. Oh, I don't think I've seen you here before. My pleasure. Good to have you. Cheap Code Monkey. Oh, well, I've seen you here, so I mean, you're an awesome. You're a legend. You've been here for quite a while. Been a big member of the community for a while. KC, PC. Thank you all for showing up. No, thank you guys. I appreciate you showing up and taking the time out of your day. A huge shout out to Tom again, true brother from another mother. Without him, none of this would have been a thing. So, shout out to Tom, shout out to his academy, shout out to his community, shout out to everything he does for all of us all together. I'm gonna say it again. I'm a consumer of his content just like you guys. So there's that. Love you much. See you tomorrow, I believe, and tomorrow will be the last video for the week, and then we're gonna probably meet next week if I'm not gonna dive into the vacation. Alan, brother, love you much. Another awesome member. Brad, good to have you here also. Definitely becoming a staple here. Extended, much love as well. Shout out Thomas, shout out to all of you guys. You're all legends. Absolutely, every single one. See you. Bye-bye, ladies and gents. Bye, Black Mamba. Bye-bye.